Okay, we're on. Are we on? Yep. Okay. Apologies. Good afternoon and welcome to the May 2nd meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have the roll call, please?
Authority Member Agajanian.
Yes, here.
Devine.
Here.
Karpetian.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Chair Sinanian.
Here. What's next on the agenda?
The agenda for the May 2nd, 2017 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Friday, April 28, 2017 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Very well. Next is selection of new chair and vice chair.
I would like to nominate for the chair the former mayor of the city of Glendale, Mrs. Devine.
Okay. Do we have a second for this nomination?
Second.
Okay, we have a couple of seconds. I think Joe Kelly was the one who seconded first. Do we have any alternative nominations?
I would like to say that I did consider our new council member, Mr. Agajanian. I appreciate him reaching out, but I felt it was appropriate to have perhaps a steadier hand at the wheel, someone who's been through 1 year of mayorship, and I know she'll lead the housing authority in a great direction, and I hope that in the near future, will bring Mr. Agajanian a chance to lead this authority.
And perhaps maybe we can consider nominating him for vice chair.
That would be appropriate.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other nominations? Okay. Anyone like to propose closing nomination?
I'll move to close the nominations.
Very well. May we have a roll call, please?
Authority Member Agajanian.
Yes.
Devine.
Yes.
Karpetian.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Parazian.
Yes.
Chair Sinanian.
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair. Would you like to take over the meeting?
Yes, indeed. Thank you all for your...
Do we pick a vice chair?
Yeah. Next item is vice chair. So
Vice chair.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, the
will-
Madam Chair takes that.
Yeah, Madam Chair takes that exactly.
So do I have nominations for vice chair? Madam Chair, do I have it?
Your microphone's off, Madam Chair.
Is it working? Because the light isn't going on. Okay, great. So we have a nominee for a nomination.
Well,
for
since
vice chair.
we
Mr.
mentioned his
Arthur
name in
Yes,
regard to
Arthur.
the Housing Authority, I think it'd be appropriate
Okay. Then are
to
there
nominate
any-
our newly elected council member,
Okay.
And I'll
Mr.
second the
Buraj
nomination.
Agajanian.
All right. And I hear no other nominations, so I will close
I'll
the
close.
nom-
Yeah, close the nominations.
nominations. And roll call, please.
Authority Member Agajanian.
Yes.
Devine.
Yes.
Karpetian.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Parazian.
Yes.
Chair Sinanian.
Former Chair Sinanian.
Former Chair Sinanian.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Kind words. Thank you. And next item, please.
Approval of minutes. 4A. Minutes of the Joint Housing Authority and City Council and Regular Housing Authority meetings of April 11th, 2017.
Okay, are there any objections or corrections?
I'll move the item. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't need to move. None.
Okay, without any corrections, the minutes stand as approved. Next item.
Oral communications. There are no cards submitted at this time.
Cards. Next item.
Authority member or staff comments.
Any comments?
I'll make some comments,
Councilmember
Madam
Sinani.
Chair. It's been a pleasure to serve as housing chair for the last year. I will say that it's been a very tough year. I served as housing chair also 2013, 2014 period, and while the housing issues were obviously there and very serious back then, we've sort of come to a point where we're facing something that can be described in no other terms than a crisis in terms of the availability of low-income housing, not because we don't create enough or we don't maintain what we have, but just because the economic circumstances are such that the need for low-income housing is greater than ever before, at least in my memory. And it's been tough. It's been tough meeting with hundreds of residents, many of them disabled, most elderly, who are simply being squeezed out of Glendale, being priced out of Glendale. They don't want to leave Glendale because of the same reasons that we all want to live in Glendale. But they have no choice or are really living day-to-day hand-to-mouth and spending 95% of their income on just paying rent. So next year I think is going to be even tougher because, not tougher in a negative sense necessarily, but we have to start acting more proactively, doing more, sending and using more funds towards propping up our affordable income housing stock. And I wish you, Madam Chair, and you, Mr. Vice Chair, a productive year. And you can certainly count on my cooperation, and I'm sure the cooperation of my colleagues in making, in doing as much good as possible when it comes to housing.
Anyone else have any comments? Councilmember
I would like to
Najarian?
say thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, outgoing Chair Sinanian. I'd like to make a few points, and number one, that is that the amount of housing, affordable housing that's provided in any one year or in any one term of a housing authority chair is not in any way reflective on the efforts of the individual or the authority in trying to obtain affordable housing. The money ebbs and flows, construction costs rise and fall, the need is always there. So I just want folks out there who are somehow trying to place some metrics on the success of any agency term or any housing chair, that it's not always accurately reflected in the number of ribbon cuttings we do in any one year. Secondly, I'd just like to say that, it is the toughest, this is perhaps the toughest agency you're going to be leading, because those who rely on us for housing are the most vulnerable in our community. They are on the fixed incomes. They are the ones with disabilities. They have the disadvantages of language and being, for the most part, immigrants. So we have to be very careful in what we tell them, and not to give them false hope, and not to give them an unbelievable picture as to what this authority can do. So I know when I speak to the residents, and they're lined up every meeting, every Tuesday or more, lined up a half a dozen or more, it's critical, and I often try to restrain myself from being too hopeful to them, because I think it's far worse to give them a false hope than to give them the truth as to what their probability is in receiving an affordable housing unit, or perhaps moving up that Section 8 list. And I think most of us would agree that it's heart-wrenching, and it's clearly the most difficult role that I have in the different roles involved with city government.
Thank you. Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I echo my colleagues' comments. When I got elected 2 years ago, I became the chair of Housing Authority. First thing I did, I brought up the Fifth and Sonora project, and right away the staff got on that project. We worked on it, but we're still in the process of obtaining financing. It takes time, a lot of effort, and money to build one project. So I echo your comments, and I agree with. But it takes time, but we will just keep pushing for it until it gets done. These authority members are committed to providing more affordable housing. Thank you.
And just to supplement that, 15th Sonora really started at the end of 2013, so it's even goes further back. That's how long it takes to make a project a reality. And again, today the entity that won that RFP is still trying to get the financing from the state, so completely outside of our control at this point.
Thank you. Councilmember Agajanian.
I want to ask, I guess, Peter Zovak, if, there are concern in the community that they want to know that Section 8 housing, they want to know the list, who is on that list and where they stand. Because there are rumors in the community that some people, they can give kickbacks and get ahead of the list, or be higher, or have better chance to get Section 8 housing. I think we have to be very transparent, and we have to come up with a list or explanation that how this works, because nobody knows exactly what Section 8 department or whoever is in charge, what they are doing. So I want to see a clear path that will show to the public that what's going on. Whether it's the points, some they have 4 points, 5 points, who is standing, where they stand on that list, and where is that list?
Is this appropriate time to call Mr. Zovak up? Mr. Garcia, or shall we?
I wasn't sure. Are you asking for a report? Because that's a pretty detailed response that Mr. Zovak would have to.
No, I'm not saying to do now at this
Okay.
second. I'm saying to have a clear report that what's going on and who is on that list, and the person should know clearly where he stands on that list and when there's approximate time, because
I
we
would
have
support
some-
that request. So usually, when a council person has a suggestion or request for a report, it needs a second from someone from the dais. So I would support that request of Mr. Agajanian to place it on the agenda.
And also, yeah, I'd like to add to that request that the point about if there's a way that someone's getting a kickback and therefore somehow advancing up the list on Section 8 or receiving housing ahead of others, spend some time on that. So elaborate how that is possible or not possible, if there's any evidence to it or not.
And thank you. And I just have one question. Mr. Zovak, that list is available to those people that are on the list, aren't they? So they can come in anytime. This is my only question. They can come in anytime and ask you where they are on the list, how they can move up, what's happened to, the process, et cetera.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the Housing Authority. There's a report that we've provided over the years about the Section 8 program, very similar questions to what's being asked today. We can dust off that report and update it and bring it back to you fairly quickly. With regards to the list itself is not a public list. It is private. There's confidential information to it. Applicants could come in and ask about their status. They can update their status at any time there's a change. We're somewhat reluctant to give people an idea of where they are in their standing, because that list, as we'll talk about in this update that we give you, can change at any moment. So it causes a lot of confusion if one day someone might be number 500 on the list, but by the nature of someone else then coming and updating their status and then obtaining maybe more preference points, it changes. So it causes a lot of confusion. We try not to give out those numbers because they're only good for until they walk away from the counter. It could be changed right away. But if someone is insistent, we do provide that, and with a lot of caution.
The person behind them can come in and change their position, right?
Correct.
That quickly.
Right.
Okay, thank you. We'll look forward to that
I'm
report.
sorry, ma'am.
Go ahead.
But still, we have to come up with some way to convince people that they have to know what's going on. There is confusion. An old lady met me months ago and says, we are on the list for 20 years. That's what I'm just conveying what she told me. And they waited until her husband passed away and got place in Hollywood Hills, Forest Lawn area, but she still is waiting for Section 8 house or the voucher. So that's why I'm very concerned. And as I said before, that they can pay money and they be going higher on the list is where it bothers me. So, thank you.
Okay, so we'll look forward
Just
to
to
that
prepare
report.
my colleague, now that you've prevailed and you're on council, you'll be meeting probably with hundreds, if not thousands, I would say thousands of people who will have that same question for you, and many will actually expect you to give out Section 8 vouchers to them. So you'll be facing this every day like we have for the last, different people for different amount of time, but every Tuesday on the average of about 10, 15 people coming with the same issue. So it's going to be fun.
Anyone else have a comment? I just want to say that there is a harsh reality here, and I think most of us know what that reality is. I think this council and staff are ready, have been trying to address this issue and will continue to address the issue of this crisis together, and we'll do our best to find solutions to the housing problem. We are looking forward to Fifth and Sonora. That is something that's looming and hopefully in our future, and it is a bright light ahead. But I think most importantly, we all know the issue. We are aware of the issue. We are working on the issue, and we will continue to work on the issue of housing so that everyone gets a fair shake. Everything is on the up and up, and we can address this problem as best we can.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I guess Ara seconded me. Is there any vote or anything going on?
No, we don't
voted on
vote.
it. Yeah.
We just,
All right.
so it'll be on the agenda when staff
Thank you.
is ready to present.
Okay. So any other comments? Next item, please.
Adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned at 3:22.
Okay, we're going to council now. Welcome to the May 2nd special meeting of Glendale City Council, being called to order at 3:20. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Agajanian? Devine?
Here.
Najarian?